the Standing Committee on Public Accounts has had to reschedule its meeting with Danelle, the entity's board chairperson, was a no-show. Athi Mtongana is going to explain all of that to us. Athi, good morning to you. What happened?
Well, Xoli, good morning to you. The chairperson of Denel's board was a no-show, as you have mentioned, but I don't want to waste any more time because certainly the chairperson of Scopa feels that their time was wasted by the no-show of the board, or at least representation from the board. Mkhuleko Hlengwa, thank you for joining us on Newsroom. Now, the Deputy Minister of Public Enterprises was here. But I want you to talk to the absence then of the chairperson and what you make out of that.
Thank you very much, Athi. Good morning, and to the viewers. Well, in the first instance, I dispatched a letter to Danelle via Department of Public Enterprise on the 23rd of May, indicating to them that they were due to appear before us as a committee today to deal with Danelle-related matters. And then I received an undated letter from the chairperson of the board last week, which actually was later to the minister, then sent to me, indicating that she would be abroad and that she would endeavor to make sure that there was board representation. The crux of the matter is that the board is the accounting authority of Danelle, and therefore they are the ones who are ultimately responsible and hold the fiduciary responsibility and the PFMA injunctions thereof, that the board is the accounting authority. So when we have hearings, it's all good and well for the shareholder representative to be here, who is the ministry, and their delegated function is to the deputy minister and the executives. But the people who are ultimately responsible is the board. And therefore it's completely unacceptable and a dereliction of duty on the part of the board not to make the necessary arrangements after having made a commitment to do so, that they would appear before the committee as scheduled. So that's as if we woke up and decided to have a meeting. All these meetings are pre-scheduled, they are arranged. And over the course of the weekend with the secretariat of the committee, I made further follow-ups to ensure that the commitment to have board representation would be sent through. But as was evident and confessed by the DM, that even they last night, as the ministry and the executives were still in the dark about who from the board would be here. So in essence, what it speaks to is that the concerns we have about Danelle, this is one of them: leadership, and an absence of responsibility and a continuation of undermining of the parliamentary process. So anyway, to cut a long story short, META is rescheduled for next week, Wednesday, the 14th of June, where the board is expected to appear. Should they failed to do so, I will present to the committee subpoenas, which I will ask the Speaker to dispatch on our behalf to the board members to compel them to appear before the committee.
One of the members here before Scopa was pointing out to the bailouts that Danelle has had over the past couple of years. And if you have to look at those figures and, you know, how much has really gone into Danelle financially, what do you then make in terms of them just deciding not to make representation, at least from the board side?
Well, I mean, it's 9 billion rands that you're speaking about, and so it's really reckless and irresponsible behavior on the part of the board, and I think it undermines Parliament and undermines the public. But you see, bailouts have become a coping mechanism for these boards in that they are willy-nilly given, and we are throwing financial solutions to non-financial problems. And so they become a default position that we can do whatever we want because these SOEs are of strategic national importance. A bailout will come either way. And so unless we clamp down on that kind of rogue and irresponsible behavior, then we normalize it. It must be firmly understood that bailouts are an exception, not a norm. I made the point last week when we were dealing with SAA that ultimately these businesses must be generating revenue for the state in order for it to meet its obligations and other competing social developmental responsibilities. So it can't be that they're not run like a business. They have to be profit-making. On one hand, the commercial ventures have to be sound, they have to be competent and sustainable, whilst on the other hand, of course, making the necessary balance of the national responsibility which they have. Like, for example, we were dealing with SAP SABC last week, your competitors. They've got a national mandate, a national responsibility insofar as being the public broadcaster, not just news, but on other issues. So whilst that mandate is understood, there's an expectation that financial management in SOEs must actually, as far as we are concerned, generate revenue for the state. Having said that, I want to hasten to say that directed the Deputy Minister and the CEO to present to the board that before the meeting starts next week Wednesday, the board must present to us in writing reasons why they should not bear the costs of today's meeting, which have been borne by Parliament, the Department Ministry, Danelle, and the SIU, because ultimately, as one member made the point, if we don't clamp down on it, it becomes wasteful expenditure.
Quickly, before I let you go in, without preempting the outcomes and the deliberations for next week, you set out this meeting with a clear agenda, wanting to hear from Danelle. What are you expecting to hear from them? I know that there are issues related to their financial books. What is it that you're actually wanting to engage the board on?
Well, these are the standard hearings that we have with entities and departments whose outcomes are problematic. And so Denel is one of them. It's at the top of the list of areas of concern. And so they have to present to us the full set of the turnaround strategy, the audit action plan, which of course is a response to the AG's findings. And of course, this is an interim board, by the way, which makes it even more shocking that this would happen. So the department and the ministry do need to take us on board on the roadmap towards a fully fledged board. So there's a variety of issues which need explanation, but ultimately it's to ensure that the entity operates within the parameters of the PFMA and other related legislation, and to show that it makes a profit and that it's viable and that it's a going concern and so on and so forth. So it's a long list of issues, but ultimately it's about the financial health of Denel.
All right, thank you so much. The chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, Mkhuleko Hlengwa. Of course, tomorrow they will continue with other related issues that plague the country insofar as electricity. We know that there are issues concerned there that they want to deal with regards to Eskom, and that's when they'll have members of the South African Police Service to answer to those allegations that were made by the former chairperson, or the former CEO rather, of Eskom, Andre de Ruyter.
Thank you very much. Our colleague there, Athi Mtongana, live for us in Parliament.